Hello, all my beautiful Tauruses, and welcome to your reading. This is going to be for my sun, moon, rising signs in the sign of Taurus. We are going to dive in and see what it is that the month ahead has in store for you. This is a timeless reading, so at any point that you happen to stumble upon this video, I hope that these messages find you well and that they will apply to you during this time. So again, there's going to be no specific time frame. It could be a year from now, next month, right now, doesn't really matter. If you felt called to view this video, then again, this message is going to be for you. So we're going to go ahead and dive in. I've actually pre-shuffled some of your cards. We will be doing some additional cards shuffling on camera, but just to kind of keep this a little bit more concise so it doesn't take up too much time with the shuffling, I wanted to do that off camera for you guys so that way we can kind of just jump in and get to your message. But before we start, I do want to start off by mentioning that the crystal that I selected for you guys for this reading today was lapis lazuli. Now, lapis lazuli is honestly one of my personal favorite crystals. I find that I tend to gravitate to this one more often than not. And from my understanding, this crystal actually represents wealth, abundance, truthfulness, courage. It also has a very regal element, as the pharaohs in Egypt were known to use lapis lazuli, even in their cosmetics. They actually used to crush this down and make like their eyeshadow and eyeliner, which I always thought was kind of cool. So I don't know if this is significant to you or not, or if you feel like you could use a little bit of more encouragement or maybe seeking out the truth in a situation. But I just felt called to kind of add this to your guys' pile. I will be doing this with each other zodiac sign. They will be assigned a specific crystal. This is just of my own choosing. But I thought that was something significant that I did want to mention before we started. So that is why that is there for you guys. So we're going to go ahead and just dive in here with your tarot cards. I'm going to go ahead and place these guys off to the side. We're going to start here. I think I actually grabbed a couple of your other cards. So we're going to start here with your tarot cards. So the first one that we have is the King of Pentacles in reversed. We have the Knight of Pentacles, followed by the Eight of Pentacles. So Pentacles is a huge theme here, guys. And we have the Seven of Swords. Ooh, also one thing I'm obviously saying right off the bat is yellow. Yellow is a huge color that is associated here. Now, when I think of yellow, I think of abundance. So that kind of it would make sense why we've got, you know, the Pentacles cards here. We're talking about money, finances, career. Definitely seems to be a focal point for you guys within the next month. What's interesting is that you have the King of Pentacles in reverse though. So there might be a sense of feeling maybe a little depleted or overwhelmed. You're kind of at a good point, maybe financially, where maybe money isn't so much of an issue for some of you guys, but it's almost like it's becoming either like a little bit of a headache or maybe you're kind of overexerting yourself a little bit more. And so this could be telling you maybe you just need to take a little bit of a break or finding a way to try to slow things down so you don't feel like you're being so overworked. And the reason why I say that is because you also have the Knight of Pentacles with the Eight of Pentacles here. So the Knight of Pentacles is very much like that, you know, being that consistent energy. It's kind of like stick with it. It's fine. You always hear that phrase that's associated with it, like slow and steady wins the race, you know, and it's all about reminding you that you're on the right path, that, you know, you're doing what you're supposed to be, especially in your career field, kind of like where you are career wise. You're where you should be. And I feel that this just might be maybe a little bit of a point where it is a bit overwhelming. You're taking on maybe a little bit more than you should or you feel like you should, and it's becoming, you know, a little bit more exhausting. That's kind of like the biggest thing I get, which would make sense why this is your first card that came up and he's in the reverse. When King of Pentacles is upright, he's sitting pretty, right? Like things are good, things are golden, but he's a little bit overworked. He's a little bit overwhelmed. And again, it's not so much that money is so much of an issue. It's just, I think the actual, you know, feeling of just like being depleted, like I'm just doing too much. I maybe need to like slow my roll here. And it's interesting too, because you also have the Eight of Pentacles here, which is known as the craftsman card, somebody who's very studious and good at what they do. And they're also very dedicated to their job, their career, because they're good at it. And you're somebody who strikes me as, you know what you're doing. This is why maybe it just feels a little overwhelming, because people recognize that in your workplace. I think they sense that, like, you got this, you can handle it, it's fine, we'll just give it to you, you can handle this other paperwork or whatever, because maybe you've been there for a while, maybe you've been in your line of work for a minute, or you're really kind of shining through or showing up, and it's being recognized. But I think not in the way that you wish it would be, just because, again, they're thinking, like, because you're so good at it, it's not going to be an issue if we just throw this on your plate. So this might be the time where maybe you speak up a little bit, where you just let them know, hey, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed, or I'm feeling a little depleted. Can I get a little bit of assistance here? So that might be something that maybe you bring up, or you communicate, maybe to your bosses or to your coworkers or whomever, that's you're kind of feeling in that situation. Because I feel like that tends to be like the main energy from this, is just kind of like, yeah, you're capable of doing it, and obviously you're good at what you do, but it is starting to feel a little overwhelming. For some of you, you might be, the reason why also too, this might be feeling a little heavy, is because you're having to maybe learn more for this job. So maybe you're having to do more training, and you're having maybe to kind of feel like you're going a little bit backwards. And if that's the case, again, just communicate. I feel like that's the biggest message here, because you also have here the Seven of Swords, and the swords deal with our thoughts and the way that we communicate. So when this pops up, this can either go, a couple of different ways, right? Typically with this card, whenever I see it, it's usually always associated with like feeling like maybe there's somebody who doesn't have your best interest, or you feel like, there's something going on. You can't quite pinpoint what it is. Maybe somebody's being a little too sneaky, or, they're not, being as truthful or as forthcoming as they should be. And so that could be causing you a little bit more stress, or, maybe anxiety in the workplace. So if you feel like this is a coworker or a boss or something to that extent, again, this is telling you need to either address it or communicate, with this situation. Because I feel like when we start to kind of get in our own head about what this could be, or what you think it could, what you think the actual situation is, and you don't know for sure, it can cause you to go into like a downward spiral, right? Because you don't know 100% sure, but you have all of these like intrusive thoughts of like, no, but I'm sure it's this, so it's definitely something to look into for sure. But again, it could be nothing. That's the other thing too. That's the other thing with this card, is even though on the surface it might look like this one way, in reality, it might not actually be that. So in reality, because we're kind of a little overworked, a little overstressed this coming month, I'm definitely feeling like this, definitely stick with it. You're going to be fine. It's going to kind of turn yourself right back up, right? But again, just communicate. Don't be afraid to speak out or to talk about what's going on or how you are feeling during this time, especially because you guys know what you're doing. You guys, I think, have been in this business or been in this career path for a little while. You definitely have that credibility. I think you have that respect for sure, because of how much time and effort that you have put into this career, into this job. So don't be afraid to speak up. Okay. So that would be like the biggest thing for you guys at this moment. So let's take a look here at your astrological cards. We have, these are the Arcana Astrology Oracle cards. So the first one that we have is the third house. Okay. Followed by the eighth house. Interesting. And then, we have Scorpio. Okay. So, that's interesting. I just realized. So Scorpio is usually ruled by the eighth house. The eighth house is ruled by Scorpio, excuse me. So this deals with kind of like transformation, or dealing with like, kind of like looking a little bit more inward. So there could be something associated with this in particular. This is really all kind of about just kind of going through a sense of self-reflection here. And what I mean by that in particular is that this is kind of like looking, I think, with how overwhelmed, like we talked about, you guys have been feeling or might be feeling this next month, just kind of being overworked or kind of feeling like you've just got too much on your plate. This is kind of like you tapping into yourself and again, your needs and what it is that you can do from that. Is this, where I speak up? Is this where I, kind of step into that role where I'm going to learn to say no on certain things, things like that, because maybe you are a person who typically says yes, okay, and that's the reason why your bosses or coworkers feel like they can just go ahead and shove certain things onto you, because maybe you're somebody who's just, okay, yeah, I'll do it, it's no problem, because one, it might be easy, two, because you're just used to doing that, and yes, those are great qualities and those are good things. But again, we're seeing here, there is this sense of being overworked. There's this sense here of like, I'm tired, right? So when you have both Scorpio and the 8th house popping up, this is literally like you recognizing that and being like, okay, do I continue to just let this slide and, continue to take this, or am I actually going to, not want to say necessarily stand up for yourself, but yeah, it might just be that where you kind of have to learn to say no and be like, that's okay. It's okay for me to say no. I'm not going to hurt anyone's feelings. I'm not going to be looked as the bad guy or bad girl, whatever. Like, it's going to be fine if I do that. Okay. Now with this 3rd house here, this deals with our communication. So that's what the 3rd house represents. It's all about our way of communicating. It's ruled by Mercury as well, which is so fitting because if you're watching this video right now, we are currently in Mercury retrograde. So communication could be definitely very difficult for some of you right now, which would make sense why you're feeling like, should I or shouldn't I speak up or say something, because you don't want to come across as saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing, right? So that's definitely something just to consider. I think just kind of moving forward with these cards, I think just kind of popping up for you. I think it's just something for you to just do a little bit of self-reflection, like, okay, knowing that I can say something and that it will be okay and I can stick up for myself. I think that's something just to consider. You don't necessarily have to do anything you don't want to. I would never want to force you to like put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, but just knowing that you do have that option, that this is something that, again, goes back to all about that communication, just like I was talking about earlier. This might be a good time to maybe speak up or just say, hey, you know what? I think I've just taken a little bit more than I need to at this time. Is that okay? And then, things kind of work themselves out. So all right, moving on. So the next oracle cards that we have, these are the Magical Mermaids and Dolphin Oracle. Oh, look at that. Your first one, rest. You've been working hard, take a nap and get some rest. Couldn't have said it better myself. Absolutely. Okay. So you need to recognize that within yourself, you are definitely overdoing it a little bit. It's okay. We all do that sometimes to ourselves, and we just need to remind ourselves that we need to just take a break every now and then, and that is okay. Okay. The next one that we have is positive energy. Surround yourself with positive people and situations and avoid negativity. Okay, so might be a little bit easier said than done for sure, especially if you are somebody who just kind of like is very go, go, go. You don't really kind of notice if it's positive or negative. It's just like, I just need to get the job done. So in those moments where you can kind of catch your breath and, give yourself a minute, realize that, I just need to surround myself with positive people, positive mindset, and just kind of help you get into that comfortable, environment to where, you can speak up if you need to, you can say no, and that is okay. Okay. All right. So for your next oracle cards, we have imagination. So this says, imagination now sets me free. Divine ones, I send my thanks to thee. Okay. So allowing yourself to kind of see yourself in a different way, or allowing yourself to just envision something a little bit different, I think for you. Yeah, use your imagination, envision it. That's really what your imagination is. It's a form of manifestation. It's a way to see what the possibilities are for ourselves. So it's like us imagining, well, if I did do this, or if I did say this, this is what it could happen, right? It's like replaying all of those scenarios. But again, we want to keep it positive because that's what's going to kind of motivate us to go for it. And you're going to manifest that reality. So definitely really hunker down, think about that, especially if you find yourself in a stressful situation or in a point where you're just like, I don't know how I can get myself out of this. Really try and do, something like that to where you can just envision it, see it, and I think it'll just make it a little bit easier for you, okay? The next one that we have is healing. Candle flame, burn this hour, bring to me your healing power, okay? So with this healing card, this makes me think of, again, just kind of healing yourself, I think, internally, through this rest, giving yourself this, time to surround yourself with this positive energy. Again, this whole environment or feeling like you're overworked or overwhelmed could have to do with some form of just inner healing. Maybe like you've been doing this for a longer time than just more so recently, and you're finally at your breaking point, and that's okay. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's okay to be at a point where you're like, I just can't do this anymore, and recognizing that and being like, I just need to start taking care of myself. I just need to start putting myself first. And part of that is through your healing process. So if that is the case, definitely, listen to your body, listen to yourself, and do what needs to be done. Okay. So we're going to pull you some additional messages from the Sea Melody Oracle cards. I was really in a mermaid mood. Oh, look at that. Your first one came out. Self-care. Drowning doesn't always require water. Literally, like what we've been kind of talking about, like really listen to yourself, take care of yourself at this time, like this is where it becomes important, to do that and to really listen. Optimism. After each rainstorm, there will be clear skies. Okay. So again, sticking on to that positive energy and really focusing on that during this time. Okay. And then let's pull you one more because I just feel like actually there was a couple, but I don't want to take those. Let's take this one. We have listen. The secrets of the sea become apparent when we listen to the sound within the shells. Okay, you know what? I'll just reshuffle again since those other two came out. All right, this will be your last one. And choose wisely. Be discerning. You don't have to keep everything in your net. Yes, okay? Just like what we were talking about earlier, you don't have to keep taking things on if you don't want to, okay? So choose what you take on. It's okay to say no to certain things, okay? I love that came up. And of course, with this listen card, I think listen not only to those around you, but also to yourself. That is the biggest thing, is really just listening to what you are trying to tell yourself, your intuition, your body, your mind, all of that. You really just need to kind of get a little bit more in tuned. And I feel like once you do, that's going to become a little bit easier for you to gain that confidence to be able to be a little bit more discerning, and just say, you know what, I need a break, and that's okay. So, all right, my Tauruses, that was your reading. Definitely let me know down below if this resonated with you. I hope this was helpful. If you guys have any questions, definitely know down below, or let me know down below. If you liked the video, please go ahead and consider giving it a thumbs up, as it truly helps out my channel. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.